So, you've seen somewhere on the internet that you need UVs to give colors to your 3D renders, but when you actually try to do them, it's a fucking nightmare.
What the fuck? Dude!
Well, trust me, you are not the first. In this video, I explain to you how UVs actually works under the hood and how you can avoid these 5 mistakes that every beginners do, resulting in hell. And I'll show you that you don't even need UVs to texture your objects.
You serious?
Yes. Alright, so the first mistake that the beginners are doing with UVs is that they just don't understand how UV works under the hood. So this is what I will explain to you now, and you will see that it's not that complicated. So I will go in Blender, I'll just do Shift A mesh cube to have a cube in my scene. And what is really cool with Blender is that all the primitive, all the mesh that Blender gives to you for free come with UVs by default, and so we will be using the default cube UVs to explain how it works, okay? First of all, how do we see them? Really simple, you just drag and drop here with your left mouse when your cursor becomes a cross, right? Here, and you open a new area to work on. And here you come here in the up menu, you come in UV editor, okay? And to see your UV, it's really simple. You just go in your object, you press tab on your keyboard and you select all with A, and you will see your UVs here, okay? So this is your UVs, right? So what it represents, it's really simple. It's your object, but unfolded to be put in a 2D space. Alright, for example, if you have a cylinder, if you want to have the UV of the cylinders, it's only a plane, right? Because you will take your cylinder, you will cut it, and will just open it, right? You have a plane. So, how can we visualize this specifically with texture? Because all the objective of UVs in 3D is to put texture on our object. So what we call texture is just images, okay? I want to have images on the surface of my object. So I will explain you, I will show you how we can do that. So what we are going to do, we are going to export this UV map, okay, in a file, okay? So we have an image of this just to have reference of where my points are in the 2D space. So for this, I will select all with a drag and drop, and I'll go to UVs and export UV layout, okay? And I will just here put 2K, all right? And we're good to go, okay? And I will open this UV layout in photo software. For me, it's GIMP, but you can use whatever you want, okay? So this is my photo software, all right? I will just come back here and explain to you, and this is my UVs in my photo software, okay? So what I'm going to do now, I will create a new layer, all right? So this works always the same in every photo software, so I think it's not that complicated. And I will take here the color, and I will just paint some number on the square so you can see how the 2D position is related to the 3D rendering of texture on the object, okay? So I will, for example, draw a 1 here, a 2 here, a 3 here, 4 here, 5 and 6, okay? And this I will export it. So to export it, I'll just hide the UV because I don't want the UVs in my texture. I just want the texture itself, okay? And I will just here go to export. For me, GIMP it's Ctrl-Shift-E, and I can export. If you are in Photoshop or Krita or the other, I think it's Ctrl-Shift-S, all right? When it's exported, all right, you can pretty much use whatever format you want, but in preference use uncompressed format like PNG, Targa, or EXR, sorry. Okay, so here I will just put the texture on the object. So for this, it's really simple. You create another area, always drag and drop it, and I will go here in the shader editor, and I will just create a new shader, and I will just add with A an image texture, and I will just open and take my image texture that I just did, all right? So here, and I will just put the color in the base color here. And to see this in my viewport, I just need to go here and check texture here. And now you can see the relation between the 3D and the 2D. And what is cool is you now have like the UV here and the 3D rendering here. So you can see, for example, if I move this point, that the A will, the 4 will just like drag and drop. See, I can just do this. And what you see is that the more the area in the UVs is small, the more in the 3D it will appear big. All right, I encourage you to test it just to see how it works, and you see that if I make my area bigger, I have my 4 that is becoming smaller in my texture. All right, and you see that I see the 6, and it's because Blender don't use actually only the texture, but it's repeated when it uses. So the 6 here, it's repeated just over there. If you don't want to repeat, you can come here and just put clip, and now I don't see the 6, I just see nothing. I just see a hole because it's what we call transparency. All right, so we'll just keep it to clip for now. Okay, to repeat for now. Okay, so this is how the UVs work. The UVs work like this. You get to understand the relation between how you put your point here and how does it move in 3D. And I encourage you so much to try to move the point like a bit randomly to see how it works here in real time, and this will help you a lot to understand how it works. So for example, what if you can click here if you want to have access to the element without them be connected. And so what appear if I run this, for example? Oh, okay, all right, and this. Oh, okay, if I scale this. Oh, okay, all right, if I just come here and just doing this, right? All right, so doing this will help you a lot to understand how does the UVs are related to the texture representation in 3D. So now we have done that, right? But what we need to do, because I didn't explain you how to unwrap your object. We just got the unwrapped object from Blender itself. So how do we unwrap an object in Blender? It's actually really simple. So what you can do, we'll create another cube here, and I will just come in tab, and I will remove these UVs. So to remove the UVs of an object is really simple. You just press U and you click here and reset, and so you have no UVs, right? All the faces are on the same coordinates. So to create UVs, you need to tell Blender on which edge you want to unwrap it, on which edge you want to cut it to be unwrapped. For example, if you have a cylinder, you will just take the edge of the up, and you will just take the edge and cut it to have sheet plane, right? This is exactly the same thing. So right now for the cube, it's really simple. So to tell Blender there is an edge you want to cut, you just select an edge and you press Ctrl E and you go in mark seam, all right? And your edge will become red like this. But if you have only one edge and I press Alt and I press U and unwrap to unwrap it, you see that it's making shit, because with only one edge cutted, you can't unwrap your object. So for a cube, for example, you need to have this, all right, this, and you will be okay. All right, let's try. Bim, you have your cube unwrapped. Okay, you see that that's not exactly the default UVs, but it works. And what you see is that you can have multiple UVs for one object, and this is not a problem, right? So what other thing you just have seen is that for a cube, it's already a little bit complicated, right, to do your UVs by yourself. So imagine on a really complex object, how do you know where to put your seam, your mark seam, and what the consequences to put your mark seam at the wrong places? I will show you this on a complex object. Let's go. So I have this complex object and I want to unwrap it. How do I do? Like I said to you, you can always, practically always, imagine your object like a cylinder, and this will give you practically every time the answer to how you can unwrap an object. Okay, so for example, if you see this object, it's basically a lot of cylinders, right? You have a cylinder here for the arm, you have one cylinder for each finger, you have a big cylinder here for the body, right? And what I am drawing here is the seam, the theoretical seam, because a cylinder, the seam, you have three seams. You have the bottom, the up, and just a line between them. And this is what we're going to do. And so for the legs is the same, all right? And the foot is the same, right? Okay, so you see that's really simple, and we are going to do that. You will see it's really, really simple. So I will do the arm at real-time speed, so you can see how it goes, and I will show you after an accelerated video where I unwrap all the character. Okay, so now we're going to edit mode. Oh, we have some UV, right? So I will just here and reset, and I will just Control E and clear sim. Okay, and so now I will just unwrap the arm. Okay, so really simple. We say it's a cylinder, so you just go here and you just take a cylinder. So it's not a perfect cylinder, but that's not a problem, right? You can just do this, right? Up here, 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 right? No problem. Okay, and maybe we can go a little bit more here to have really all the arm, right? Okay, perfect. All right, and this is our first sim. Control A, mark sim, right? So what we're going to do is we need to know where to put the sim on the long of the arm, because it can be on the bottom, on the top, on the front, behind, and the rule you have to remember it's your sim should be the less visible possible. All right, so I will explain to you why it's like in the next point, so keep it in mind, but for now just remember you need to have your sim at the less visible spot. So for you, for a model like this, the less visible spot for the arm, it's at the bottom. All right, so I will just go here, okay, and I will just take my arm. For the recorder to have several edges like this, I just press Control and left click. Okay, all right, until this one. Okay, all right, and this is the area where I will just. Okay, and so we have our arm. And how can we check if our arm is good? We can just select all and take U and unwrap. So of course, if I'm doing this, we have like some shitty things going on because all the other things are not unwrapped. You can see that this is really weird, but this is our arm and this is really cool, right? This is really cool and this is what we want. This is our arm, okay? So how now can you know if your sim are good places and how can you know how it works? So I will show you just after the video where I unwrap all the character, and just after this I will explain you how you can check your UVs are good, right? How you can know that your sim are placed at the right place and they are not in mistake, okay? So let's see that right now. Now we'll just select the left side to remove it, X delete vertices, and I add a mirror modifier with clipping checked. And in data, I just check mirror U and V to have my UVs mirrored automatically by Blender. So you just saw how to unwrap all the character by yourself, all right? Well, now I'm going to show you how you can know if your sim are at a good place, right? So I will show you this with the Suzanne model, right, the monkey, because it's only more easy to see on the small model than on the large model, but the principle stays the same. Okay, so I will just go here in my UV workspace, all right? And you need to know that Suzanne have already UVs, and of course, they are by default, so they are good, and we'll check if they are good. So how can I check this? Really, really simple. You can use a function of Blender that lets you create a special image that lets you check the quality of your UVs. I will show you and will explain you how it works. So I will go in in shader editor, and we'll create a new shader, and I will just remove this node here with X, and I will create a new node that is an image texture, right? And in the image texture, I will just go in not open, but new. And what is new is that Blender will generate an image for us, all right? So I will call this UV check, all right? And what I can do is I will not use the blank, but you can use a UV grid. And a UV grid, it's really, really, really useful to check your UV. I will show you why. So you just take UV check, okay, it was a C, but not a problem. And you just put the color on the surface, and I will show you how it goes here. You just go here and texture. And so now we see the texture on the object, so you can see it here. I can just show it, and so you see this is just squared with some cross on it. All right. So how does this help us to understand if your UV are correct? This is really simple. You need to check that the square here on the texture are square on your mesh too. Okay, and we can see that the UV of Suzanne by default are not that great, because here, for example, you see that this is not a square. All right, it's quite stretched it, right here too. Okay, so you can see that you have like this is way stretched here. This is pretty good, right? But here it's not good. So how can we improve the default UVs of Suzanne, right? So I will show you how. You can take Suzanne here, and we will try to understand where the UVs are not good. So for example, we saw that here, not great, all right? So just let's select the ears, right? And we can, when you press L to select an area of face, you can just go in the option here, and you can just go in UV. So you just have the UV island, right? And now we can know, okay, how can we have a better UV for the ear? Well, this is really simple. The thing of the here that make it bad, it's because here it's really small and it's really big. So what we need to do is just take this piece here, right? This piece, okay? And we just scale it, right? But we're going to scale it with proportional editing, so you can press O on your keyboard, and when you scale it, you see that it's scaled all of it, but we'll reduce it with your wheel, right? And here you can see it has that. Okay, so you see that it's starting to move like the island next to it, not very good. You can just come here and check connected only, so it will not move the island next to it, right? And so for now, we will not like think about the other island, just this ears too, right? And I will just move it. Okay, so you need to stay connected, right? All right, okay. So just make it in vertices mode, because if you are in faces, it's disconnected, right? Okay, well, let's go. And so you see that when I do this, the square in the ear become squarer and squarer, right? You see that this is better in the ear than before, because this was way too big and way too stretched, right? But doing this, you know, you sense that we are stretching other point here, right? And so this is why UV can be a little bit hard to get. It's because you need now to just come and move your object point by point, just to check if your UV are good, right? So I will not do it for entire here, but you can see how you can do it, and you see that okay, for now this is good, but this is not good, right? And you do that, you do that. Okay, so you'll see that this is not that easy to do, right? You will see, you will do that like for an hour, and this will not be good at all. So how can you have some help to do that? So the first thing to do is that if you have a low poly model like this, it will be really hard to have like really homogeneous square. So don't be too hard on yourself. If it's pretty homogeneous, this is not that a big deal, all right? If you want to know how it will do at the end, you can put a subdivision surface modifier on it. So to do this, you just come on your property here. So for you, you should already have this panel here, and you come here and you put a subdivision surface modifier, all right? Doing this, it will show you the real model, and you see that this is not that bad, all right? You see that this is pretty cool, pretty square. This is a little bit stretch. This is a little bit stretch, but it's way better than before. Okay. So why I show you this? Because at the end, often you subdivision your model if it's organic like this, all right? So what we're going to do now, I will show you a tool in Blender that lets you see directly on your UVs where there is stretch and where there is not. This is here in the overlay element, and you can use UV stretch and angle here, and you have area. So area is when an area is too big or too small from its neighbors, right? And the angle is where there is two angle compared to the 3D, all right? So for me, the angle is pretty good, I think. And you see that we have a lot of angle here, and so you can try to move the point just to have a better understanding of it. So the more the angle is blue, the better, right? If I do this, you will see that it becomes really red here, okay? So now you have really a tool just to get how you can improve your UVs by color, all right? So once again, it will not be perfect. This is not a problem, okay? It just needs to be good enough, all right? Often the software you will use to texture will take this thing into account, and it will be way less of a problem, all right? Okay, all right. All right, so this is better. This is not perfect, but this is way better than the last thing. And we see that at the side of the ear here, the square are way more squares than the last time, okay? So the other thing you can do, you can use the area here. So in here, you can just come here in area. And what the area does, it explains you what the relation between the faces are here. So what you want to do here, what you want to have, you want to have areas that are the same color, all right? So from here, for example, this is way better. And once again, the more is blue, the better it is, all right? So this is here way too big, all right? So we can just do this, or just do this, for example, okay? But be careful, because doing this, you can remove your what you did with the angle, right? So do not overthink it, okay? Once again, if it's not perfect, this is not that of a big deal, okay? But what you want to have, what you don't want to have on UVs, it's only like you have this point and you just, okay, this is a really big deal here, right? Because we'll have a texture really weird, okay? You don't want to have overlap on UVs. This is the first mistake I see in every beginner work, is you have faces or vertices that overlap on the UVs, and so the texture is the same and it's all straight all the way down, so not good, right? So don't overlap your UVs, and try to have the models that have the UVs the more homogeneous possible, with the help of the angle and the area helper on the overlay here, all right? So this is how you can know and how you can try to work your UVs. For the seam itself, all right, you can see that there is a cut here in the texture, right? This is because we have a seam, right? So the seam is when you select your edge and you say, okay, you cut this edge with Ctrl-A, mark seam, to have two islands that are different in the UVs. So you need to put, like I said just before, you need to put your seam at a place that is less visible, because you will see that your texture will be cut at the seams, all right? So if you use a 3D software for texturing like Mari or Substance Painter or anything else, like even Blender, this will not be a problem, because you can paint on seams on this software, and the software will paint the same thing on the two islands at the same time. So it's pretty good. But if you use like GIMP or Photoshop or Krita to paint your texture, this will be a problem, because on your 2D surfaces, these points are at two different places. So to have exactly the same color, it's pretty hard, and so you will see your seam, all right? So be careful with that. For me, the easiest way to get rid of them is just to hide them, all right? Just put it in a place where we don't see them, all right? Or just put an object on it. For example, I could put like a bracelet on the ear of Susan, right? If you use these tricks, you will see that your seams will become less of a problem, all right? So hide them, okay? And hide them, putting them like in a less visible place, or putting them under other object, all right? What you can do too is you can use your camera placement to make your seam. So for example, you put your camera, you construct your scene where I want to film, all right? What's my point of view? And at the opposite of this point of view, for example, if this is my camera, my seam should be right here, right? So we are going to use the camera point of view, the camera angle, and from the opposite, okay, we'll put the seam right there, so we don't see them on the camera. And this is really cool, because if you do it that well, you will see that the seam will become less and less of a problem, and the UVs will become for you way easier, all right? So this was the thing, how you can unfold UVs and how you can use seam. So right now I will show you another element, is what's the most problem I see in UVs, and you will see it's really simple to remove. So let's go. So the one problem I always see in the beginner's level for UVs is that you don't use the right resolution. So what I mean by that is that your texture here is way pixelated. So it's like this, right? Okay. You have a texture and you see your pixel, right? This is all blurred, bad, ugly, right? So this is for two reasons, all right? The first reason is practically always the one that beginners make, is that the area of your surface in the UVs is too small, right? Because the more the area is big on your UVs, the more your texture will appear small here. And so the more you will have definition in the 3D. So most of the time, it's just that the area in the UVs surfaces is too small, right? So be careful with that. You should have the area in your UVs the bigger you can possibly have in the square of your image, all right? Don't do this, because it will like use 1/10 of the image, and so you will see the pixels, right? The other thing is that even if your area is good, you still have pixels in your 3D render. It's because your texture has not enough resolution in it. So for example, if you have 256 by 256 texture, it's really small and you will see the pixel. So right now the solution is really easy. You just need to have a bigger picture, right? A bigger texture. Just take a 1K, 2K, 4K texture and you won't have the problem. But be aware, you need to check the surface area before, because I saw a lot of beginners, what they do is they have like the 8K texture, but the area is like this. So there is no point, because even if you have 8K texture, if your area is like this, you are showing like 32 pixels, so you will see them, all right? So be aware of that. So the third thing that you will do when you have this problem of like pixelation, it's because when you film, when you place your camera to take your shot in the 3D, you are too close to your mesh, all right? You see that if I put the camera close enough, I see the pixel, and this is really, really common. So you need to be able to manage and place your camera in accommodation with your limitation of your texture. All right, so don't put your camera too close of your model if your texture is not that detailed. All right, so be careful. I see a lot of that. The camera is often way too close to the model that the people want to show, especially if you have a bad texture, especially if your texture is really low resolution and you can't have a better one. Just don't put your camera close to it. So I will take an object that is pretty hard to unwrap. Okay, so this is the model, and if you take the model here and you just put the shader that I showed you just before, so to do this I just take an object and I just create a new shader here, sorry, and I just take the existing one, all right, and I just press Ctrl L and I go in link materials, right? So now all of them have the same shader, right? So we don't see on all of them, and this is really simple because all of them don't have UVs. And what I'm going to do, I will select all U and I will just reset it. So now we have this, so no UVs, and this is a nightmare. So I will not start to unwrap this piece by piece. It's a fucking nightmare, right? So what you can do is you can ask Blender to unwrap it for you. Okay, so how we can do that? You just select all your object and you go in tab and you select all the faces, right? Pressing A, and you just press U and you go here and you go here in Smart UV Project. And this you just don't move anything and just unwrap. And what it's going to do, it's going to use and create your UVs for you, right? So awesome. And you see it's really cool. You see that the area of the face are all blue, so there is no difference or pretty less a small difference between the scale of the UV, so it's really good. And what we can see, this is the square are square, really great, right? So this is really, really awesome. The small inconvenience of this technique is this is creating a lot of seams, so you need to be careful with that. Okay, but for example, if you once again texture in a software like Substance Painter or even in Blender, this is not a problem because you can paint on the seam. But if you use Photoshop, be aware of that. So this is really the only thing to know. You just press U, Smart UV Project, and you have perfect UVs you can use, right? So be careful. I have a last thing to do. This works really, really good for hard surface model with big angles, but if you use it for organic models that are really round, this will be kind of tricky to get, and you will need to come with the practical thing to just mark your seam, right? Okay, cool. So this is really simple, okay, to do, but I have even a better solution for you. What if you can texture your object without even UVs? Yes, you heard me well. So how do you do this? Okay, because it seems too good to be true, and trust me, it is true. So what I'm going to do now, I will just change the texture, and I will just add a texture to that we see how the texture reacts to the UVs and how we can apply the same texture without UVs. Here, I will just remove this and I will create a new image texture, and I will open the texture of mine, Grant Roll, all right. So we have this, and because our UVs are good now, we see that the texture is pretty fine, right? We see the seam. This is the only ingredient, but okay, we good. The solution I will show you, you will see that we won't have seam in it. So you don't need UVs and you don't have seam. Yeah, I know it's insane. So how do you use that? Really easy. You need to go in your shader editor here and you need to create one node. The node is called texture coordinate. So here. And you press it and you go in generate it and you put it in vector, right? So once you did this, you will not see the result here. It's because you are in preview. So you need to know this solution doesn't work with preview. It just works with your render itself, okay? So don't be alarmed. Just come here, just come in material and just Z and up and you have the result here, all right? So you have it, it's good, but you see that it's like all straight, so not that good, right? It's even pretty bad. It's because you need to change one more thing to have it work. You just need to go in flat here. It's what we call the projection mode and you go in box. And now look at that. You have a perfect mapped texture on your object without any seam. And you can even see a little seam here, but you can use what we call a blend to just blur them together. Isn't this freaking awesome? Of course it's awesome. You just need to do this and you have a perfect texture on your object without the need of UVs, all right? And this is all there is to it. No problem, really easy. All right. First of all, congrats for reaching this point. Trust me, you're part of the minority. Now, would you like to go further than a simple tutorial? Having a real course that explains you the basics that are behind a video like this one. Yeah? Okay, so this is what you're gonna do. You're gonna click on the first link in the description to receive an entire 6-day course where I explain you how you can create your first movie entirely in Blender. We'll realize together this epic gladiator fight between the evil cube and the dark pyramid. And all of this for free. Yeah, you heard me well, this is totally free, there is no bullshit, and you will be able to apply all the skills you learn in your personal projects. So, let's see you there.